Hey guys, welcome to the channel, and today we're going to talk about journaling and really upping your journaling skills, your journaling ability. And it's something that I've been working on and thinking about over the last few days quite a bit in regards to this. So have you ever been on a journaling journey? And it really is a journey in itself. And journaling is a really useful tool, especially when you're dealing with things, you're going down a healing path, or you just want to have some more identification of what is going on, maybe why you're feeling the way you are feeling, and you want to just get a little bit deeper. And it's journaling is very close to like CBT, and just trying to be aware of your thoughts and trying to understand where they're coming from and what's going on basically. So let's think about something. So maybe you're dealing with something in life and you really don't know how to address it, how to deal with it. And this is where journaling comes into a world of its own, because for many, what can happen a lot of the time is they will just be stuck in the thought. It will just be the thought that just keep whirring in the mind, and they're just stuck there, and they're just stuck in this sort of like mental loop of this, of feeling that, of going through this, of why is this happening all the time, and not really getting to the bottom of it. It just becomes a constant thing, and then over time those constant things become more, because as the mind likes to increase those feelings, you know, the mind is a weird thing at times, and it can make us or break us really. So that's why journaling is really important, because we can then identify and break down things into smaller portions. So for today's video, I've got a few examples that I've written down in front of me. So if I look down below, it's just because I'm looking at my notes. And so I've written down some steps of how we can identify things and how we can deal with things, and how we can deal with things in a proactive manner, and not just use journaling in a passive manner. And there's no right or wrong way with journaling. If what you're doing is working for you, then stick with that. But also give this video a chance and give these ideas a chance, because there may be something where you are just writing things down for the sake of writing it, and it's not actually, although you're getting it out of your head and you're writing it down, things aren't improving and you don't see a change. So this is where this might benefit you, just to have more awareness and self-awareness of where you are. And journaling really helps with that as well, just to increase your self-awareness, and you really tune in deeper with the feelings. And that being said, the first thing that I've written down is feelings. So what are you feeling? So try to identify with the initial feeling. And so you may be feeling a multitude of things. You may be feeling sad, you might be feeling angry, whatever it might be, but just try to tune into just one single overriding feeling that is maybe what is a controlling factor for you. So as an example, what I've written down here is sadness. You know, so a lot of people just feel sadness, they just feel unhappy within themselves. So the next thing I've written down is about that sadness. So what is creating that sadness? So this is where, once you've identified the feeling, so we've gone with sadness, just as a total example, you know, you can use this in your own way, but you can use this, and this process will really help you to kind of funnel down and get deeper into what you are going through and what you're feeling. So what is creating the sadness? Now again, this can come up with a multitude of things and different areas in life. So think about those areas, think about all of them. You know, it might just be a handful, it might be hundreds of things, but just try to stick it to a few, maybe half a dozen, something like that. So what I've written down here, for example, you know, is like being alone. That can make a lot of people very sad. Not enough money, that can make people sad. Their home or their environment where they live, people can have sadness around that. It may be the job, it may be the friends, maybe they're giving out too much of themselves, and that is draining on them, and that is creating the sadness because they're not having it reciprocated, they're not getting anything back, they're giving everything away of themselves but not receiving anything. And so that, again, this is about balance and about balance in life. And if that is something that's happened then with other people as well, then there has to be some difficult decisions made here where you have to say, I'm not actually receiving anything from this friendship or from whatever it might be, and you just have to let them go. It's going to be a difficult decision to make, but sometimes letting things go is the beginning of a wonderful new way of just being able to just be in your own energy, in your own field, and it just opens things up so much more. So there's a few examples. So like identifying the areas that are creating this sadness in life. So the next bit is about focusing and funneling on one aspect of those things. So those things that you've written down in your journal, the different ideas, focus on one for the time being. And you might think, God, well, this is going to be like a long process, but everything is a long process if you want to work at it. If you want to deal with things, it's going to be a process. It is going to be a long process, and it's just about identifying it. What it's creating, what's bringing up for you. So funnel it down to one aspect just to begin with. So for me, what I've written down here, again, just as a total example of what's creating the sadness, is the home or the environment that you might be living in. So then you have to think, right, so what is it in the home or the environment that's creating the sadness? What's bringing the stuff up? So then we have to look at the options of what it might be. So it might just be that I haven't decorated for years and the place is just looking a bit scruffy. It just needs a bit of maybe a lick of paint or something like that. So it could be something to do with that. It could be just the fact that it's a bit messy or untidy, or you just need to have a bit of a declutter, a bit of a sort out, throw things out. The throwing things out is a really, really important aspect of any mental health journey, because the more you can, again, it's to do with letting go. The things that you let go of, the things that you haven't served you, the things that are just sat there, they're just stagnating, you've not made use of them for years, months, however long it may be. Get rid of it, and it has that throwing things out has a real positive psychological effect of just like letting go of stuff that you've not used. It's just been sat there gathering dust for no reason. You don't need it. Let it go. And you have to kind of like be brutally honest with yourself at some point in life, and just say. And it's the same with people sometimes as well. If they're not serving you, if they're not being there for your highest good, for your benefit, then I'm sorry, bye. You got to make that decision. And it's just the same thing with stuff that's just sat around in the home. Get rid of it, chuck it out if you don't need it. Also, like to do with the interior, it may be to do with your furniture. Maybe you need to get new furniture, but maybe you've got a lack of money. Maybe you can't afford it, but maybe you could upcycle that furniture. So maybe some of the furniture you could just paint, you could just redecorate it. You could put a new covering over, some new upholstery, just put some covering over, which is a much cheaper alternative to buying a whole sofa or a whole suite or a whole table and chairs. There's many different things you can look at. Because sometimes, when we're in these places, we don't think rationally. We just think of the negative all the time. So we just need to step out of that. And even if it's just for a small nugget of information, a small span of time, it will help you actually see things with greater clarity. And it might just be that little thing. You're like, oh, actually, yeah, that's a really good idea. Let's give that a go. And that can really help. And again, bringing something new or just upcycling things brings a new energy to the home. It really does help. Another way of bringing good energy into your home as well is to incorporate plants or some sort of natural forms. Plants are a really good way of building a discipline, because it's not an animal that you need to look after every single day, but it's there and you can look after it. You can water it. If you want to, you can talk to it, like I like to talk to my plants. But it gives you something to care for. But the plant, other than being watered, it doesn't expect anything. It's just there. It's just there for you, and you can just appreciate it. You can just appreciate the beauty of the plant and what it's doing and how it's made the home feel a little bit better. And it's tiny little things you can incorporate into the home to do that. Maybe there's a house move is needed. Maybe you need to move from where you are to a new location. But maybe that's not financially viable as well. So this is where you also need to think like outside of the box a little bit, really, and just again you can go into a journaling process like this, where you can actually write it down and just weigh up the pros and cons of things, where you are, life, the area, and all that sort of stuff, and just write it all down, and brings it into, rather than just being in here, because the mind likes to create just negativity all the time, especially when you're in those heavy places. Writing it down, just getting it out and putting it on a piece of paper will really help to just alleviate a lot of that pressure that's in the head. Another great way and good thing to think about as well is to just like cleanse the spaces, cleanse the rooms. So sometimes, like I sometimes don't even get a chance to like have a dust or have a spruce around, because we're always that busy. But when I do, I really feel a benefit of it, and just doing the housework itself has a real great way of building discipline internally, because you want the home to look a certain way. You want it to be tidy. You don't want to be able to write your name in a piece on the dust in the piece of furniture or whatever it might be, but just having that little bit of that little bit of discipline and those little standards as well can really help to ease that and facilitate that as well. But also using a salt cleanse, so using salt water around the home and just cleansing all the furniture, everything around the home, and that will cleanse any negative energy off all the furniture. And then you can just go around and just polish it down, because the salt will leave a little bit of a dusty sort of residue afterwards, so just polish it all down afterwards. Using sage, using incense, using crystals, these are things that I like to use around the home. These all help the room and help the energy of the room as well. So that's just like a few ideas of how you can kind of like, and it's quite an easy, simple process, and that's just for one thing. So that's just like, obviously that's just taking that example of your home or your environment, but you can use that for any other thing. So if we look at, say, like we're looking at the sadness, so if we're looking at like being alone, so then again, think about what is creating that feeling of being alone, and really tune into one aspect of what is making you feel alone, that really funnel it down. And what I'll do is that I'll write these down in the descriptions box, so you've got like something to actually use as a template, to work alongside. But just going through them again, one by one. So initially, identify the feeling. So go with the feeling, what you're feeling, what's the internal feeling, what's the initial feeling, and just try and stick to just one feeling to begin with. Yes, there might be a whole lot of stuff going on, and as we know, the mind, likes to create so much stuff that we don't know where to look at first. But go with the feeling, really tune into that feeling, and stick to that one overriding emotion that is creating the feeling, and then take that feeling and what is it that in life that is creating that feeling. So obviously with this example we use sadness, but it could be something totally different for you. It could be like I said, being alone, not enough money, the home environment, whatever it might be. But you can use all these in like a template, to use them one by one, and then really tune in and focus and funnel down to one aspect of what is creating that element, that whatever it might be. So obviously in this instance, we use the home, the environment, but again, it could be so many different things. And then look at what is creating that feeling within that space, within that emotion, and look at the options of how you can work around it. So if it's something like, say, if it's being alone, so what are your options? So you could go to meet friends, but if those friends aren't serving you well, if you don't feel you get anything back from them, if the friendships are a little bit toxic, then go and find some new friends. Go and join some groups. Maybe go to a gym, maybe start an art group, go to some sort of class or courses, and you just build a rapport and build a connection up with people. And then you'll be able to explore that further with those people. So there's many different things you can do with that within that being alone. You could actually, what I found for a lot of years when I was alone, it was quite painful for me because I didn't want to be alone. I didn't like being alone originally. But over the years of doing that, I realized actually I needed that alone time. And that alone time was very healing for me, and it was very good for me because I had to be comfortable in my own skin, basically, my own energy. So that was, for me, that was kind of like a lesson of that just because you're alone doesn't mean that you are alone, because there's something is going on, something is being dealt with internally. And as we talk about in a lot of these videos, being alone, actually you are never alone, because alone, when you break it down, as myself and my friend Patrick talk about, it actually is all one. So you are all one, but that's going on like a whole other tangent of consciousness. But for this, we just want to keep it functional, want to keep it funneled down, we want to keep it basic as possible, and as easy to follow. So that is quite a few good tips there for you to really take your journaling to the next level, to really tune in, funnel down, and focus on what the issues are and how you can deal with them on a really focused basis, a really focused way of dealing with it. So I hope this helps. Like and follow for more, and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.